Hello, everybody. Well, I panicked because I started to come on and said, "Oh no! Oh, is somebody now? Oh, Melanie, I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm sorry you're not feeling well." Mark, after driving home in that pouring rain, came home and he's sick. So I had the sore throat last week and he has it now. But anyway, let me tell you a little story. The little story is I came down here to sign up and went, oh no, it doesn't have us listed. And so I kept trying. I thought, what is going on? Something's not right. I was signed in by a different name. And that happens to me so often. I'd like to cancel it under that name, but honestly, I it's hooked now to my YouTube TV. So I don't know how easy, I haven't been able to figure out how to do it. So I'm coming on here right now with no makeup because I said I'm late. I don't have time to put makeup on. They're waiting. By the time I finally figured it out, yay. Oh man, our Mary's got an ulcer. So hopefully you're on antibiotic. It's one of those that'll react to antibiotic. They used to have people think, oh, you're stressed, and you need to calm down. And poor people went through so much. But anyway, so I'm doing something I've never done in 6 years. I'm coming on without makeup. I said, I'm not having these people wait one more minute. Oh, I've never had an ulcer. Goodness gracious. I am so sorry, our Miss Mary. She's usually so bubbly. I feel terrible for her. Okay, well, today we have, let me find it. Oh, nothing like running around like a chicken with your head cut off. But here it is. I have worked very hard this week. I just want you to know that. And here is our flower pattern. I had drawn one that oh, now when I take my glasses off, my eyes disappear. I'll leave my glasses back on. I'm not vain much. But anyway, I had drawn another one of these. But what I failed to realize when I was copying it off of let me find it. When I was copying off of my large, oh, it's right here. I made a little board here so I can kind of keep track of what I'm doing. When I copied it off this enlarged one, I circled every little strip, every little circle, anything that looked at all like anything at all that looked like it was a difference in hue or tone. And so I wanted it all. And oh no, I'm sorry, Melanie, between you and Miss Mary. Oh, I'm so sorry. But um so the problem with the way I first did it by circling everything was it was way too busy to try to figure out how to do. And it was going to be a mess to try to, you'd be cutting out tiny little things. So I said, okay, simplify, simplify. So I made up 4 papers, put them back on the light board, put them on the other drawing that I had done, and said, now how can I simplify this with having the same ideas? So where a flower petal needed to be dark, it would be dark. Where it needed to be light, it would be light. So I redid the drawing, and here it is. And as it is, there are 45 petals. Now, some of them are very, very tiny. Then I had a problem. I was trying to print it, and I ran out of black ink, and we had no black ink. So then I had to quickly go on Hewlett Packard, HP, order ink cartridge, put free priority mail, and it got to me so fast. So I was finally able today. It came in at about 11 this morning. And so I said, ah, we can do it. So I've been running around all day because first, what I did is I took this, it was all glued and taped together, but I folded it into 4 sections and scanned it. And so it is now officially, since about 4 this afternoon, it's been officially on our website. And so I've scanned it into the website, and that way you can download it. And I also scanned in um a really my inspiration photo. But see how I had numbered these so I could try to keep up with them? Well, when I remade it, I corrected some of my numbering mistakes because as I first was numbering it, I kind of missed what really should have been petals. I said, if I don't number that with something, it's going to get lost. So right now, I went to print out a new picture of that, and unfortunately, it came out kind of flat like this because I need to put a new color cartridge in now. Luckily, I have that one already. But so what I've done is today I took and copied, made 2 copies of all the pages, and then I did that by folding this and making 2 copies of. Let me show you. Here's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. And I put the registration marks here today. I mean, this time again. And I also put, just in case you forgot that I numbered them, where I numbered them, I put arrows meaning this way up. So then what I did is each petal, this is a lot of work. So when you pay for a pattern, it's worth it. But I took and circled the numbers of the petals. Then I used light, medium dark, dark. So 5 different color listings. And instead of doing some ABC or 1, 2, 3 for them, I just did like right here. I did 30 dark, DK. LT light, M medium. There are a few on this one in the center, VDK, very dark, because some of the center colors almost black. They're so dark. So everything is numbered, and like in the center here, that's the little center of the petals that haven't opened yet, may never open, but a lot of that is shading. So it shows where you want the medium dark color, where you want yellow, where you want very dark, all of that. So it's all labeled. It may be tricky to see. If it is, wing it. Do whatever you want to it. So this is done. I have my copy up here. I have the original uh, sort of posterized version of it so that it reminds me where the striations are. I have the 2 colorways to remind me how because like this one didn't show up with any yellow in the center, but the center of the dahlia is yellow, like most dahlias. So I've got those. Then what I did, okay, this is what you're going to do. Now, if I were an amazing pattern designer, I would say to you, okay, here is 1/4 of all the pieces for the flower. But if I were amazing, I would have each of these petals by themselves so that you could cut each particular petal out. But guess what? The problem is to do that would take tons of time with 45 petals. So what I want you to do is when you download, let me see, when you download, let me find my other copies. When you download and print the 4 pages of the pattern, I want you to make at least 2 copies of them. That way you can cut each petal out. And let me show you what I did with that. Now, for whatever reason, after I printed that mostly burgundy, I printed one more pattern. It came out like purple. Okay, that'll work. Okay, so now here are, okay, I'm going to bring you down to see this. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so here is page 3 right here. And I can see that this is one petal right here. One petal. But notice up here, this petal lays on top of that. So I'm going to show you what to do. But you cut out with the whole dark line. Where the dark line belongs to that petal, don't cut it out. That will tell you you need to add a seam allowance. So, but you'll see, here's a petal, here's a petal, here's a petal, here, see, and these in the, some of them in the center are really tiny, and like this one. But anyway, what I did is this. This actually was cut from page 2 to page 4 because it overlapped. So I cut them apart, glued them together. Then I glued on a seam allowance because where the line was dark, that meant it laid on top. Where there was no line, where I cut it out, I glued to the back of it a scrap of paper to give myself a seam allowance. Hello, Lucky Rose. I think that's our Denise because I love her abbreviation of our group. But what I did is I just glued the scrap because you have plenty of scraps here, once you cut things out. So just remember that where it lays on top, have the whole line cut out with that piece. Where you can tell another one lays, then don't cut out. You won't have a line. Then you know to put roughly 1/4 of an inch of fabric on there. So let me show you. And these are going to come in very handy. So let me show you. Let me get a hold. This is number 5 petal. Okay. Now, when I go to pick out fabric for this, the majority of it is 5 light. 5 light. So I'm going to pick out a light color, a light pinky burgundy light. And in incognito mode, yay. I'm gonna pick out a light color. Then it says here 5 dark. So here are some dark marks in that. Here is another 5 dark right there. Whoops, I think I forgot to number what, unless this one's all 5 dark. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this, and I made some copies, and printed. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah, Denise has had them too. Okay. This is printer paper that is fused. I just ironed it onto regular paper. Okay. So I don't really even need it on there now. Although right here, I fed this in the machine the wrong way. But I can take this off. Okay. Freezer paper ironed on to regular copy paper. Now, the reason I do that is because then I can cut out this piece right here, and I can iron it onto the fabric that I want to use for that. Okay. So it's sort of different steps and processes. This is for when I iron it on to know how to cut the fabric out. This does not take the place of fusible. This is just to get the piece cut out accurately. Now, before I cut this piece out, when I find the right color, I'm going to iron some fusible on the back. Okay. So I'll walk you through that some more, but I just wanted to show you. I took freezer paper, ironed it on to copy paper so I could feed it through the copier. I did not want to have to draw this out on freezer paper. And when I cut these out, actually, I'm kind of doing more work than I have to because I've already got these. Hmm. Now I'm thinking I should have cut this out of the freezer paper. That's what I was supposed to do. I still haven't been getting sleep with Mark coming home and getting sick. And I was up last night with letting the dogs out. And I just have not been able to sleep right. It's bothering me. But I cut this out of here when really I should have done all of this to my freezer paper. So the ones I've already started, I'm going to copy this over onto my freezer paper. But once my freezer paper, okay, let's try that then. I'm going to peel this off. I want to just cut out one of the petals and show you. Because when you cut this petal out, right now I'm just going to rough cut it until I get it. All right. This part of the petal is on top, so I leave the whole line with petal number 8. This is petal number 8. Now this is petal number 44. So that is on top here. So I'm not going to cut any of this dark line. Okay, you just decide which petal is on top. It's pretty easy to see which one. Okay, now this petal is going to match up with page 2 because of where it was on page 4. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to match this up here. Okay, let me trim this a wee bit and show you how it fits. This is how you can make sure it fits. All right, this is petal number 8. It fits. I'm pretty sure, yep, it fits right here. So, of course, I picked one that straddles. So, this one, I need to glue it or iron it to the other one, but I can cut out this petal, come back, take some, I can even use some of the freezer paper and go ahead and cut a little extra bit of line to finish out the seam allowance. Okay, let me show you. What you have to have is what lays on top and what tucks under. So let me show you that. And what am I trying to get? I came here to get something. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and glue it. That's what I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and glue it. Okay. So to glue this, where I need to glue my seam allowance on, I put it right here. That way I don't have to worry if I have it correct. So remember when Jody told us about you have your outside top lines and then you have the tuck under parts. And so I'm just going to trim this and you just want to leave about 1/4 of an inch like this. Okay, so here this is. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut the rest of this out. When I have to learn something as I go, I get sometimes I get a little, it's like I'm trying so hard. I'm in a rush. I'm trying so hard to figure out what goes where. Now, let's say that this piece I want on this fabric. Then what I can do is take this piece now, lay it here, iron it like this. And that way, see, it stays on that fabric. Now, before I cut it out, though, I'm going to take a piece of the Steamosine 2 and I'm going to just rough cut it. Okay, just rough cut it. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to rough cut it and iron it behind that piece. Now, if you have plenty of Steamosine 2, then you can cut a section. Give yourself a section, cut a section of it. All right. So I'm just kind of giving you a quick tutorial. You'll remember, whoops, I glued that on there. But let me put the Steamosine 2 is right under here. And then I will take this again. Okay. And I will iron the freezer paper to the fabric. And then now you cut it out. Now you cut it out just the right way. I don't want to lose this, so I put that back off. All right. Now let me try it one more time because I want to make sure I haven't skipped anything or gotten too excited. All right. So I have put the pattern on the website. You're going to, if you want to work with this flower, you're going to take and print off page 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you know how I put down little markers to help you. Okay, here is that. This is page 1 and page 2. You'll have to trim off there, but then when you put this here, you can see it'll line up with your registration point. And just when you go, let me just go ahead and real quick cut off this to make sure you know. Okay. This is going to be fun once we get the prep work done, but it's a little confusing when you first start out. All right. And I'm not as smart with this kind of stuff as our Miss Amazing Jody. But now you see how you get your registration lines up. You get that lined up. And guess what? Everything else starts meeting. Okay. So here you go. Now you can see the top half of that flower. So with one of the copies, tape it together. So you have at least one that shows you exactly where everything goes. Okay. And in where I put it, I also put the inspiration photo. So you know that when you see all this, oh, that's all the little center flower petals that are wrapped around the center. So you can look at your paper, you know exactly what you're looking at. So if you take one of your copies and put all 4 pieces together, then when you do that, it gives you this. Whoops. Now I didn't mean, oh, there we go. Okay, it gives you this. And this, you can see I just quickly taped it together. That just makes sure that you stay focused and know exactly where you are and what petal you're dealing with. Okay, so we'll come back down to this. Let me tighten up. Okay, so here's the pattern that one of these you're going to tape or glue together. Okay, then if you want to make it easy, you can take freezer paper. This is just Reynolds freezer paper, Reynolds wrap freezer paper. And I cut it into approximate sheet sizes. And I took and put the shiny side against the copy paper and ironed it. So lightly iron it so it holds on. That way you can feed it now into your printer. And since you've already printed and probably saved your originals, you print this on it so you don't have to draw it all over again. Then what you can do what I just did, cut out a piece of it. It's already labeled. It will stick when you iron it, but add in, I need to find the other part to this, but add in your seam allowance. And one thing I do so that I know where I'm supposed to overlap, let me find a better marker, is where I know it's going to go under. Here you go. You put the dots here. And you can see where you've glued that other piece of paper on. So you'll know right how to line it up with the one that it goes under. So here is like, pretend this is the one that goes on top. You'll know to line this up this way. Okay, so that's what the dotted line means. That tucks under the next one. All right, so you're going to have to do that yourself. If I had a zillion and a half hours to spare, I would separate out each of these petals and make you your own perfect little petal pattern. But I don't have that time. And my brain, I told Mark, I'm having brain fatigue right now. But and obviously so, because I sat up there and cut out one of my copies, forgetting that that's the whole reason I did this. Now, and actually, well, it's nice to have these on top, but what I'm going to do, the next thing I'm probably going to do, and this is hard to believe for me, because I'm kind of cheap, right? But I am probably going to put the entire sheets of this into the printer. I don't know. I haven't decided. Do I use the light board and draw these little things or not? Because, and this is why I want to talk about this. Because what I want you to do, like here it says medium light, this big area is dark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the petal. If it's mostly light, then I will pick a light color pink and use that as the petals. And then where it's dark or medium, I will make a piece to go on top, an applique. Does that make any sense? So, um, so I will use, like, here's 10 light, 10 dark, 10 medium, dark, 10 medium. Well, I'm just going to pick one of the fabrics. Then I will trace or copy this shape onto Steam 2 and then cut that exact piece out. Now, don't forget, with Steam 2, you have to turn it over, because remember, it's like mirrored. By the time you draw it on Steam 2 and then you iron it on the back of the fabric, you have flipped it over. Okay? Because let's say here's your fabric, you put the Steam 2 on the back of the fabric. By doing that, it means it's flipped over. So when you do these, just make sure you know when you draw them or print them, flip it over. Now you can do that two different ways. You can cut it out, flip it over as you stick it under the fabric where it belongs, or on your printer, if you know how, you can set it to flip the designs. But just remember, anything you put on top of the petal has to be reversed or flipped over. So just like right here, this is pattern piece number 9. This says 9 medium, 9 medium. This is 9 dark. So I'm going to pick out a medium fabric for this, then cut this out of Steam Seam and put it on a dark, and then iron it on top. Okay? So now let me show you. I've got the hardest thing of all left to do, although in some ways it's kind of fun. But what I'm going to have to do is decide what color that I am going to use to make this. So here again is my main pattern. That's a copy, but this is the main pattern again. So I went over to my stash and I pulled out my two little mini baskets of red. These are all the reds and pinks that I own. That's going to be the part that is going to be a little bit more tricky. I also grabbed some golds and some yellows like this. And because I do want those for the center. All right, let me put these out of the way. All right. So let's look at these fabrics. And in fact, let me try to bring them both a little closer. Well, I know I'm going to have some darks. And one of my darks is so dark that it's almost black. So I'm going to go through my stash and look for my darks. Okay. Let me look over here. Let me move this iron out of the way now so I can look at my fabric. Okay. Move the iron. All right. That way now I can put these right here. Ooh, I see a really good dark here too. Reds, reds and blues, I probably have the most variety. I thought I saw a dark one in here somewhere. Okay. Now, let me show you what I found. Okay. Move this red out of the way. I have a feeling I'm not going to use this at all. It's too bright. Okay. So here, I've been just pulling some dark reds. I like going either from dark to light or light to dark, starting one end. Now, this is lighter than this. So I'm going to put that a little bit here. Ooh, here's another one. Now, look at that. Even though this has some light spots and dark, look what it reads on the camera. So right now, this is my darkest. This, I think, is just too many different colors in it. So I'm going to put that back for now. Now, here is a Jenny Beyer print. But boy, does that have some dark reds. I would have to try to cut them out. That's going to be tricky. I'm going to put that back. All right. Here's another Jenny Beyer. But boy, do you see the darks. If I want to cut around, look at these really dark reds. So I'm going to leave that here. Here's another one. Well, it has a light stripe, but see all these darks? That's pretty good. This much too light, put that out of the way. This, look at that. That is so dark. It's almost black. So I've got some wonderful candidates. Whoops, let me bring that up. I've got some wonderful candidates now for yellows and my darkest darks. All right, so now what I'm going to need, I'm going to go opposite and go to the lightest lights. Because once I get these picked out, then it's a lot easier to choose my mediums. Okay? Because I'm going to hopefully hit upon a hue that really makes me happy. All right, looking to see if there's anything else. I think I've got all of the lights. I definitely don't want something like this. I don't want that. I want it to read a mottled or solid. Okay, now another thing to tell you. Oh, look at this ombre pink. I didn't know I had this. So this is a treasure when you're doing a flower portrait because it goes from a dark, dark pink to very light. This is a definite. I'll put that in my definite pile. All right, this is a very good light pink. I mean, look at that. It's almost white. All right, so these aren't as light, but using that's pretty light. Using um batiks are a wonderful thing for these flowers because you get so much of a different color. So now I've got the lightest, and this will be very sparingly used for the highlights. Now let me show you that flower and show you that now this is extreme. There are not that many highlights, but here's one. These little places where it looks white, those are strong highlights. They will take, this is just for highlights. So I'm going to do something right here. I am going to make labels for myself and pin these on. And these are going to tell me what I plan to use it for. So this one is going to be highlight. And on the pattern, you will see that I have some H's in different places. Let me see if I can find an H for you. Sometimes there'll be a little place that has an H, and the H means highlight. Let me see. I know I saw one a little. Here is an H. Right here is an H, and I have a few of them around. And and you know what? Add your own. You don't have to go exactly by my pattern. The pattern kind of gives you a roadmap, but guess what? You decide what sites you want to see along the way. So this is going to be for highlights. So I'm going to pin this to this fabric. That way, that decision is made. I don't have to make that again. All right. These are going to be my choices of darks. So, what? Okay. These actually, let me see. I need to pick out a little bit for very dark. I think I'm going to use this one for very dark. And I know that I did not put very dark as, I wrote it on a couple places, but it's up to you to decide where to have this is going to act as a punch of color. It's going to set off all the other colors. Having the lightest light and the darkest dark are going to make everything else more vibrant. All right, so now I've got my very dark and my highlights. Then I'm going to save these for maybe this one too, for my darks. And I will decide which one of these I will end up using. If I want to, I could use a couple different ones. If I want to make it simple, I will pick just one of those. Okay. Now, and these are good for my, I'm going to call these my lights. Right? So here are my lights because I don't have as many lights as I wish I had. It's something I tend to forget to buy when I stock up on fabric. So I'm always grateful when I have anything. So now I've got this. So here is my pile so far for the flower quilt. Okay, and these are going to set the tone for what other medium colors. So now this would be a very good medium dark because I have I have, that is one of my colors that I've marked some of the segments. So this is going to be medium dark. Okay, medium dark. Now I'll put that there. Now what I need is I need medium. I need medium light. No, I've already got my medium lights. That's right. I've got my medium. I got my highlight. I've got my my light. No, those are my lights. Okay. So I need now mediums and medium light. This is, I'm thinking, is too pinky. It's a little too bright. This might be interesting, so I'll leave this here. All right, where are my mediums? This is interesting. But now you start to see that I'm kind of going towards a look. I'm starting to see which particular hue I'm going for. But I didn't know this at first. This is what happens when you start choosing your fabrics. And a lot is determined by your stash. If you don't have certain colors, really hard to put them in. All right. So what I'm seeing is I have a lot more um grayed grayed out. Oh, that to me has too much purple. Put that back. I think this one, ooh, that's interesting. But that's interesting. I'll keep it in the maybe pile. The nice thing about bringing the whole buckets out is I can look at them and then decide which, put them back away, all of that. Okay. I think I'm pretty happy. I'm going to look at it again. Now this kind of stuff can be really interesting. You can fussy cut it. So if you need a dark, you can put it that towards this end. If you need a light, you put that part of the pattern for this end. So, okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my highlight, my very dark, my medium dark, my dark. I've got a good choice of yellows. It's so funny because I know in the flower, really what I wanted was a yellowed red pink, but that's a real hard fabric to find. But okay, so by looking at, let me get you down more with, whoops, sorry, bumped my head. Okay, I'm going to bring you down here. By looking at these colors, I'm starting to see what shade of red. So now you can see where this wouldn't work. Even though it's a wonderful batik, it could be good for giving a little brightness, but it goes to the orange. And I'm seeing that these are they tending to go to more red blue type. So what I'm going to do, let me do something, make this a little touch easier for all of us. Here are the highlights. Here are the lights. Now, next will be medium. Here is the very dark. Here are the darks. Here's the medium dark. Okay, because I really only need one of each. Here are the choices of yellow, depending on how yellow. And yellow and red are orange. So if you want to, that's one of the reasons I picked this. It might be a better choice for the center. All right, so here we have mediums. Now I want to audition. I'm auditioning these. I think that's what people like to call it. This is good because it gives me a little brightness, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm thinking this one might be a better choice with the other fabrics I picked out. And Okay, which one did I say was going to be a medium light? These are these are perfect choices for medium light. This is a nice color, but it's just I hate to use flat colors in a flower because it has so many more choices. Okay, so this is going to be my medium light. All right, so now I've chosen my medium lights. And I'm still, if for right now, I'm going to leave it at both of these little mini bolts because the more and more I work, the more I'll decide which one's right. So there's medium light. Then now I need some mediums. I think get away from the solids. That's a very good medium. It's got some brightness to it. I love this just because it's a wee bit subtle, but I'm not sure about that one. Now, this has the brightness that this one does, but it's not quite as bold. So that one I'm leaning at this one more, although I may end up going back and getting this one, deciding that the flower needs that little sparkle. Don't be so matchy that you forget sparkle. Like these these three are too much of one of a kind. They kind of look like somebody dipped them in a little bit of brown dye, over dye, don't they? So that worries me a touch. I'm thinking, hmm, I'm thinking, uh, I don't know. Y'all have any suggestions here? Um, no, let me see. Yeah, this one has too much dark in it. Too much dark in it. All right. So, what are y'all thinking? The one on the that one on the right you like. So you like this one right here. Oh, hi, Jody. You know what? I think Jody's right. Now, of these two, which one, if I want to save two mediums, which one would I use? This is definitely in, and this is looking a little salmony, which might be good. I don't know. Well, you know what I'm going to do? They're so close. I'm going to leave this for now and decide, and this is going to be my mediums. Okay, so these are my mediums. So here we go. This is the flower pattern. And all of this is going to be the dark. Whoops, let me back up here. All of this is going to be the darkest part of the flower, very dark. And then I want to try, I think, as I get further out, to keep it a little bit lighter. In fact, you can see from the inspiration photo how it gets a little lighter as we go out. Jody, I've got to tell you, girlfriend, this has been such hard work. I have not been the most pleasant person to be around. This has been a little difficult for Deb, but I'm learning, girlfriend, and y'all are so patient with me. All right, so now I've got my colors chosen, and I'll go over them one more time. All right, here we go. My very dark. So actually, if I add this to the mix, there's 6 color values. Okay. This is going to be my very dark, almost black. Then I'm going to have my darks. And I would need to fussy cut around the darkest points of these, but here are my darks. They come next. Then my medium dark is this one right here, because it's all about transitioning. Now, why? Oh, I know why, because hold on just a second. I've got to, there we go. I don't need it. Chat. Okay. So now I've got my medium dark, and I might throw this one in with that just in case. That would be nice to have that one there. Then my mediums. Thank you, Miss Jody. Then now I'm into medium lights. Here are my medium lights. Here are my lights. And I love this being an ombre because I got so much to choose from. But these are really good lights. And then here is my highlight. I mean, this almost sparkles. It's so good. So here are the colors I've chosen from my stash. And I may only use 6 of these. I can do whatever I want. What do you recommend, Miss Jody? Because you're the expert here, darling. What do you recommend? Here is the pattern. Oh, thank you. Should I start on the outside and keep spiraling in? Because that might end up being, I hadn't thought of it yet. It may be easier starting on the outer first. That makes perfect sense. Okay. And I've explained to everybody about having where you lay it under, and then the heavy line means this is on top, but this part goes under another petal that'll come lay on top over here. So, Miss Miss Jody, I am so surprised I'm doing this. I keep knocking off some safety pins I brought here. Let me get these out of the way. But so this is now the pattern is online. It's on the site, and you can all download it, make a couple copies, decide if you want to do like freezer paper so that you can lay it on top of the fabric, and instead of having to pin it and try to cut around it, use that freezer paper to iron on top, then you can cut it out. And then, but before you fussy cut these pieces, have the steam seam already on the back side of the fabric, because you need steam seam on this, and then you need to cut out. That's the other reason, is I wanted to cut out with freezer paper. I actually should have made two. You know what I just thought of? Is there anything, if I use this freezer paper, iron it on to the fabric, and cut out the petal, then I don't need that freezer paper anymore. Could I then take and cut down that freezer paper for the little color variations? Build your petals individually. Yay, that's right. Okay. And here, oh, I'm so glad Jody's here. Oh, I mean, yeah, I love her curly hair and her sweet disposition, but she's so smart. Okay, so this is where I'll use this to build each petal. That's very good. Build your petal in here. You can iron on these and then still peel it up, and it'll still work when you put it where it belongs. I have no idea what color my background is going to be. The reason is, until this is all built, I will not know exactly what one really captures, and I'm too afraid to jump the gun and pick out something. I have a feeling it's going to be a dark color, a black, a brown, a dark gray, or dark green. Laying parchment over the pattern, fusing, ironing it. Aha. Okay, very good. So you can, if you don't have one of these fancy things, you can use parchment. And I do have some of that. So I'll make sure to have it down here. So next time I want to show you different ways of using it. And I got plenty of steamosine too. Got a few packs of that. And you can put the steamosine through the printer. So that's good. So now I think, by Jove, I think we've got it. Oh, my little dog just snored. Okay, she's comfortable down here. All right. So, okay. So I'm hoping that I gave you enough for you to start the process and that, whoops, that's right. Got to keep my glasses on. I was in too big of a hurry to put my makeup on. And it's like I don't want to scare children. So all right. So now what I've got to do is when I go back up tonight, I'm going to sit and work on cutting out my freezer paper forms because I was cutting out just the regular paper, forgetting, pardon me, forgetting that is why I didn't go to sleep till almost 4:30. So, but I was forgetting why I forgetting that I even printed off the freezer paper ones. And again, I'll tell you, I cut the freezer paper into size of sheets of paper. I ironed it on the copy paper, fed it through the printer like a charm. So, and then now I like the idea that after I've used the freezer paper template, it's still, you can get it to still stick a few times. So then what, after I've already made the petal and I've got the petal on the parchment or my silicone sheet, then I'll come back with this freezer paper and I'll cut out the other colors. Then iron that onto the fabric that I'm going to use for those colors. So next week, I think next week is our last Thursday before I'm so busy doing wedding prep that I'm making myself insane. So next week, I'm going to make sure that I take some time this week to work on this. So then I can really show you how it worked. And y'all can work on it while I'm doing all my crazy prep stuff. So there won't be any rush for you. And then when I get back, and I think I'm only taking like 2 Thursdays off. It's not that big, but I think by Jove we've got it. And it's looking like more people are wanting for our July class. It looks like it's going to be the Storm at Sea. So, and I've got some interesting things. I've got a Storm at Sea I started 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And so I will be finding that. I'll be finishing on that while I'm teaching you the Storm at Sea. And then that other wonderful wildflower quilt that I found, who knows? I'll start that just when I'll just one day get a whim and say, let's start wildflowers. All right. I think I've covered it all. And I forgot to check and see all who's here. But just know I love you to bits. And thank you for keeping me honest and hardworking. I mean, there's no reason for me just sitting around getting covered in dust and spider webs. I love figuring all this out. It's keeping this brain very flexible. So thank you so much. And you found laying parchment over the pattern and fusing iron. Yeah, Yep, exactly. That is wonderful. But we'll build each petal separately, which is awfully good. I've made the mistake of trying to cut out all the little pieces and then not being able to figure them out. Now, I did try very hard. I labeled each tiny little piece is labeled with the number of the petal and the what shade it needs. Okay. So it is on our 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 time groups IO. In fact, I'm gonna write my email address. So any of you, if you haven't joined our group yet and you still want to play with us, then just send me an email and I'll send it to you right back by email. Our time to whoops, nope, almost. Thank you. You're welcome, Miss Vicky. Our time to quilt at twc.com. Yay. And now I can go up and say, sorry, Mark, I was grouchy girl all day. This was just, especially waiting desperately for the FedEx man to deliver the ink because I couldn't do anything to prepare for tonight's show until I got the ink. And then Mark was so good. He put the ink cartridge in right away. And then I start, printing everything out. It was like, okay. But we can do this. We will work through it together. Oh, Lucky Rose. I love that. That is so sweet. All right, guys. Yes, it's going to be fun to do a storm at sea. And let's say you don't want to do storm at sea, then you come sew with us. Bring something you want to work on. Bring plenty of snacks and chocolate. And that's going to be second or third week of July for the whole week, about 4 hours a day. And if you can't make it at the time we choose, don't worry. We'll be recording it. I'll give you your own private address to watch it in your leisure time. You just saved a spider. I don't know. I think I got bitten by a spider yesterday. I wasn't happy with him doing that. All these insects, everything is going nuts. It's like spring, and we've got the cutest. We've got some rufous sided towhees nesting on the front porch. And it's so cute because I have the woven rattan little nest thinking it would help the birds when they want to have a nest. She didn't use that. She built the nest behind it in the corner of the front porch roof. So cute. So cute. So everybody, y'all are the best. And yeah, we're gonna make sure we can get our Jody to show up, whether she wants to do a storm at sea or what. In fact, oh, thank you, Miss Mary. Miss Mary, I hope you feel better. And our Melanie, oh goodness, I hope you feel better. And I know Debbie's sad that she can't be here, but she's got Chloe in obedience classes. So Chloe, and I remember when our Melanie did the very same thing with Willow, who's now, I still like calling her baby, but she's all grown up. Well, everybody, take good care of yourself. I will definitely see you Sunday. And I have no idea what we're going to be doing Sunday besides English paper piecing. And I've got to get caught up with the red work, but we will find something good to do. All right, everybody. Oh, that's so neat, Mary. Aw, that is so a mama bunny. Mark saw a couple bunnies playing leapfrog in the front yard. I went, no more bunnies, no more bunnies. Because we have one that lives in the backyard, one that lives in the front yard, and I want a garden again. But anyway, take good care of yourself. Keep your spirits up, and we're going to keep finding fun things to do. Take good care. Thank you, and thank you, Miss Jody, for teaching this. She's such a good teacher, too. Bye-bye. See you next week.